for the World Cup in the U.S. Now, I'm curious, no juice from fans or no juice from the players? Who do you think we're not getting juice from, at least on the U.S. side?
Well, it's been reported that there's no juice like at all, and people are from FIFA are worried that there's nothing from fans or anything. Or, but to be honest with you, it's an international competition. It's 4 months
Yep.
away. What's going on? A lot of club things are going on, especially with teams. We're starting to get into title races for teams. We're starting to see the
Yep.
the EPL title race. We're starting to see the La Liga title race. Bundesliga, I think, is pretty set in stone. Serie A has their title race. So the only issue that I have with international competitions, especially something of this magnitude, is no one truly gets hyped for it right now, especially. But within a month or so, everyone starts to, you know what, once everyone kind of knows their club team's fate in terms of, trophies, some teams will still be playing for meaningful stuff. But right now, everyone has meaningful games. Everyone is still most likely in a competition, a cup competition, whether that's the league or a domestic cup. But right now, I mean, we're 4 months out. No one's really hyped for it yet. Like, I'm an Arsenal fan, and they're in a title race. Man City's in a title race with us. Like, everyone that's an Arsenal fan or Man City fan is going to be there watching that. And then the moment that everyone knows their fate, a switch happens and everyone goes back. But from a different standpoint that I view this as Americans, who obviously we're having the World Cup here in this summer. There's not really a ton of hype for it, I guess. There's not really, there's no billboards, I guess. There's no, I'm trying to give you guys a countdown to the World Cup to get the Americans hype, but, no one seems to be liking that shit, so I don't know. But, no, it's like no one's really – there's no billboards. There's no
I enjoy them, Ryan.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate it.
I enjoy your videos.
There's a couple commercials. There's a couple
Yeah.
Here and there, but I think mainly everything will start to get amped up here in the next couple of months. But I also think that, we're a little too far away, 4 months. I know that seems really close, and I know everything's still in place, but I feel like the marketing will start to ramp up here in the next couple of months or so. But just from right now, from an American standpoint, and there's a lot of other issues going on with the World Cup, ticket prices being one of them, and that's people have voiced their opinion on that. But it just seems like there's not a ton of hype right now, but I'm sure once that calendar flips April, I think that everything will start to get hyped up and ramped up.
I vividly recall getting on my soapbox and talking about a handful of U.S. men's national team players and what I would like to see out of them in the new year, especially leading into the World Cup. And, it was a passionate talk. And I was talking about revenge stories for someone like Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic. Are you the guy? And Weston McKennie, can you keep your form into international play? And then I cut back to Ryan because he does this full screen thing where he'll say his thing and I'll say my thing. Well, I started off this segment and then I cut to Ryan and immediately he's just looking into the camera like, dude, we're 5 months away. It's January right now. What are you talking about? We still have all this stuff to wrap up on the club level. And it's true. As much as because from my perspective, that's all I can think about right now is World Cup. I'm not thinking about Major League Soccer. Obviously, we talk about the Premier League and a lot of the things that are going on over there and our individual updates for the players. But that's the only thing that's on my mind right now is World Cup. But that's now not how it works, especially for our top players that are playing in those top flight European leagues, as we've talked about, because they're getting into the most important part of their seasons, as you just explained. So from a player perspective, I can see where, there probably isn't a whole lot of juice. And that's what makes these upcoming friendlies, I know we got Senegal coming up on the 28th. That's what makes these friendlies interesting because there's still that element of, these guys are, again, they're getting into these windows where, now the rubber meets the pavement. Now they have to go complete their goals, finish out their seasons, do what they need to do in order to make sure that their professional career, that side of their career, or at least the club part of their career, is where it needs to be. There's a lot of lofty goals, too. We talked about Christian Pulisic and what he set out and everything, and obviously the injury issues. So that's what's on their mind right now. So from a team perspective, it's going to be hard to see any juice. But from a fan perspective, I think the hard thing is that, number one, we have to get a little bit closer. I think it's going to hit like an avalanche when it does turn to April, when it does get within that range, you're going to see the media kind of flip a switch. But for right now, again, I think it's just hard because for people like you and me, and even Alexi Lawless, when we have him on the show here in a little bit, and we'll ask him about Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. It's hard for the general American public unless you're really like locked into what's happening to each of these individual players in their careers overseas, unless you follow these Twitter accounts or you follow these other accounts that are, giving you the overseas overviews or watching Inside the Game. That's another one. Maybe you're not really paying attention to just how well they're doing. You're not seeing what Weston McKennie has done this year. You're not seeing that Christian Pulisic has been great in the stretches that he's been healthy. Again, that's the biggest concern. As well as all the other examples that have been playing extremely well. And then we could list off all of them. But if you're not paying attention to that, and if you're not actually going out of your way to do your homework and look at, wow, like this is the deepest we've been in our country's history to this point, it's probably not you're probably expecting much in the same from the U.S. men's national team when the World Cup comes around. You're expecting what the ceiling is, which is what you said, like a round of 16, which is not a bad thing per se, but I think it's hard to get American fans really amped for, you're going to get bounced in the round of 16. But I think there's some people that believe that this is a group that is capable of doing much more than that. But that's where it's hard, I think, for the general American audience is that, it is, I guess it's more for the show than it is necessarily for the team. But I there's not really much of an excuse, to your point, for American fans, though, right? Because, like, in Europe, yeah, all the leagues are going on and everything, but, like, Major League Soccer's not playing right now. So
Yeah,
why
but
is
we
there
got
nothing
10
on
different
this? The
leagues
Super
going on
Bowl's
right
over.
now.
That
Uh,
is true.
we got
That
college
is, yeah.
basketball, we have the NBA, we have the NHL, the Olympics are going on right now. So it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
Europe where you just root
Yeah.
for a soccer team or a rugby team and that's it. Like there's a whole bunch of other different things that your attention to. Like if I'm being completely honest, my whole
Yeah.
attention is to the Michigan men's basketball team. Like that's really where all my attention is. I,
And hockey, too. Yeah. I mean, at least from my perspective, hockey.
like Pistons, sure they're cool to watch, but I'm not concerned for them quite yet until they get to the playoffs.
Mhm.
And in the Red Wings, I'd like to see them get to the playoffs. But no, I think that to your point about the team just sucks. So like let's who really cares? But
Right.
like
Right.
when South Africa had it in 2010, that team sucked, but the whole country was so hyped for it and got behind the team. Then Shamalala's goal or whatever his name is, I think Shamalalala was his name. Goal for South Africa, goal for all of Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole nation got behind it, and that's why they were so sad when Luis Suarez does a handball and kicks Ghana out, basically. But no, it's
Yeah.
I just think that there is in America we have so much stuff. Like, and you even have all the entertainment that goes on too, like the Grammys, for an example, award shows, celebrity beef and all that stuff, like movies that come out, big movies. So there's so much stuff that comes out, and obviously all of your sports teams as well. So I think we just have too much stuff compared to a lot of other countries. Like it's unbelievable the amount of stuff that we have, and grateful to
Yeah.
have all this within our own country with all the
Yeah.
celebrities, music artists, like people move here to pursue those dreams. And I think though if we're looking at it from a marketing standpoint, maybe Fox, that obviously has the rights. Maybe they're just focused on getting through the college basketball season and then going from there. I mean, because I know college basketball does a really good numbers on Fox. Even though I think they ruin some big time matchups in football and college basketball, but that's just my opinion. Like Michigan State should not be playing on a Friday night. They should be playing on a Saturday night. And every big Ohio State or Michigan game that's not Michigan versus Ohio State shouldn't always be played at noon. Just saying. But no, I just think that I think Fox is trying to get, once that regular season of college basketball ends, which is I think around the first week of March, maybe second week of March. And once that happens, I think they're immediately going to turn their heads. But when we have so much stuff in this country in terms of sports and entertainment, I mean, it's kind of hard to get hype for something that not a ton of people follow on a day-to-day basis, and two,
Yeah.
something that's 4 months away. So under 4 months away, just under. So it's I think it's a little difficult to get to, and I think that is from I forgot. I think Touchline was the Twitter account I got that from. I think it may be still a little bit of pushing the panic button right now. I think that's a little bit of jumping the gun. I think that we're just a little too far away to get super hype. And someone mentioned billboards and stuff. I think we got to get a little bit closer to do all that because you also
Yeah.
don't want to market something that's 4 months away and blow a bunch of your marketing budget, advertising budget on something that's still far away.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think once the Olympics wraps up, I think then finally maybe
Yeah,
we're into
USA
that
hockey takes
period
up a lot of time too
of
right now.
so I'm sure once that finishes up, but there's a lot of people that actually enjoy watching the figure skating and the curling and the snowboarding, and I like watching the snowboarding. That is fun. It's fascinating how those guys can do what they do. But like, I think once that wraps up, you're going to see it pick up really quickly. But again, there's just not, it doesn't live and breathe the way it does in other places. It's the hardest thing to explain to people. It's also hard because I feel like we're just not the names that are on this US men's national team, and we've had this conversation about this before. They're just not household names. Like Weston McKinney is not a household name. Christian Pulisic might be, obviously, for people that follow the sport and play the sport, and you talked about promoting him would do numbers. They don't do enough of that. But a lot of the key players on our team, they're just not household names. They're not
They're
dudes
just
that
dudes.
they're just dudes, which is like that's
They're
cool, and I
Jags,
think that's something. I
as
think that's
Steve
something
Smith
that can
says.
be
Just a guy.
good. And I think that's something that can be channeled by Mauricio Pochettino and by this team. I think that's something that they could absolutely use to their advantage as kind of a us versus the world mentality, which is quite literally what that is. And so I can see that being a good thing for the U.S. men's national team. It's just unfortunate that that's our reality in this country. Yeah, soccer is obviously not the most, I think, important thing for the media or for the fans. But on top of that, there's just not a lot of household names on this team. So
But
until you get really close, it's going to be hard to get people like actually going
but but
the
I
way that
also
you want.
think, not just America itself, but a lot of the other European countries aren't hype yet. Like they're not looking at it yet. It's
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
once
Yeah.
everyone knows what their clubs are going to do in terms of the season, if they're going to be in a domestic cup final or they're going to be in a title race or are they going to make the top 4 to get Champions League? No one's hype yet because it's so far away. Like notice how like no one really gets hype for the Olympics or anything. Like if we were having this conversation
Yeah.
2 months ago,
Yeah, that's true.
nobody was talking about the
Yeah.
Olympics at
Hmm.
all. And then all of a sudden it randomly shows up and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh crap, the US men's hockey team plays today. Like I didn't know about
Yeah.
that. I didn't need
Yeah.
it to be hype or anything. I just need to
Right.
know when these games are playing and then I'll start watching. Like obviously
Hmm.
when it's soccer that's a little bit different because of, what I do for a morning and afternoon and sometimes evening. Like
Right.
I need to know about all this stuff. But for US hockey in the Olympics, I ain't paying attention until the games start. Like I didn't even really look at the US hockey roster, to be quite honest with you. I just heard Dylan Larkin was on it and I was like, cool. And I know the Kachucks will be on it and Austin Matthews. Like after that, I when the games happen, that's when I'll start watching. So
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot going on.